Last time, we explored the painful silence around sexual violence in Scripture through the stories of Dinah and Tamar. We saw how women are passive in their own trauma, how consent is often absent or ignored, and how those stories laid the foundation for the rape culture we live with today. But silence isn't the only barrier to consent. What happens when power makes saying no feel impossible? Today, we're diving into the stories of two biblical women, Bathsheba and Mary, to uncover what consent means when power is unequal. Bathsheba is often blamed for her violation, while Mary is celebrated for her choice. But were either of them truly free to choose? But before we go deeper, let's unpack how Bathsheba and Mary's story is actually told in the Bible. Let's start with Bathsheba. In 2 Samuel 11, King David sees Bathsheba bathing from his rooftop. She is described simply as very beautiful. He sends men to inquire about her, then sends for her. The text says, she came to him and he slept with her. There is no conversation, no indication of her will, just the king's command and her compliance. Bathsheba has often been blamed for this encounter, with some suggesting she tempted David by bathing in plain sight. But let's be clear about the context. David was the king with unchecked authority. Bathsheba was a woman, the wife of a soldier, Uriah, who served under David's command. Refusing a royal summons could mean shame, exile, or even death. Later, David had Uriah killed to cover up the consequences of this encounter, proving just how absolute his power was. This wasn't mutual. It was coercion, masked as silence. A king took what he wanted, and Bathsheba had no real choice. Now let's turn to Mary, the mother of Jesus, in Luke chapter 1, verse 26 to 38. When the angel Gabriel appears, he says, "You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus." Mary, young, unmarried, and living in a deeply patriarchal society, is understandably shaken. She asks, "How can this be, since I am a virgin?" Gabriel explains. Then Mary responds, "I am the Lord's servant. May it be to me according to your word." Unlike Bathsheba, Mary is given a voice. She questions. She responds. Her words are often read as enthusiastic consent. But let's pause. Gabriel's message isn't framed as a proposal. It's a divine pronouncement. And Mary is not negotiating with a peer. She is responding to a messenger of God, surrounded by overwhelming spiritual authority and cosmic stakes. So yes, Mary says yes. But consent is more than a yes. It's about the freedom, clarity, and safety surrounding that yes. Could Mary have said no? Would she have known that was an option? Probably not. That's not to diminish her faith. It's to acknowledge the immense power imbalance embedded in the moment. Because when power is unequal, even sacred power, consent becomes complicated. Let us define the terms in the title. Understanding power dynamics in consent through the narratives of Bathsheba and Mary. Consent is only meaningful when it's freely given without fear, coercion, or manipulation. Therefore, the power dynamics in consent refer to how power imbalances, when they're based on authority, status, age, wealth, gender, or culture, can undermine genuine consent. When someone holds significantly more power, saying no might feel dangerous, pointless, or even unimaginable. In Scripture, women's voices are frequently absent, especially in moments of intimate encounter. So when we ask, did she consent? We must also ask, did she have the power to say no? Sadly, the stories of Bathsheba and Mary still shape how women navigate power, consent, and agency today. Number 1. Victim blaming. In some interpretations, Bathsheba is often labeled a seductress. This mirrors how women today are blamed for their own assaults. From courtrooms to social media, survivors face scrutiny over their actions or appearance, diverting accountability from perpetrators. This pattern, rooted in patriarchal readings of Scripture, perpetuates a culture that silences women and excuses powerful abusers. Mary's story is often framed as ideal obedience, teaching women that submission, whether to divine or human authority, is virtuous. This can pressure women in religious communities to suppress their voices or comply with unequal power dynamics, whether in marriages, churches, or workplaces, equating resistance with ungodliness. Bathsheba's inability to refuse King David reflects the reality for many women today, where saying no to someone with more power, be it a boss, partner, or authority figure, can lead to retaliation, ostracism, or danger. Her story highlights how power imbalances in workplaces, relationships, or institutions restrict women's freedom to set boundaries. To reclaim Bathsheba's story is to name the truth. She was a survivor of sexual abuse, not a seductress. By rejecting narratives that blame her for David's actions, we restore her dignity and challenge the systems that silence women's experiences. To reclaim Mary's story is to celebrate her courage to question and respond within the constraints of divine authority, while acknowledging that her choice was shaped by a profound power dynamic. Her voice, though limited, reminds us of the importance of agency, even in imperfect circumstances. So what do? We commit to centering women's voices, to building a world where no is respected, where consent is clear, free, and safe, never assumed, coerced, or overridden, where faith and justice are not at odds, but aligned in dignity and truth. What narratives about Bathsheba or Mary did you grow up with? Were you taught Bathsheba seduced David or that Mary had no choice? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your reflections. If this episode challenged you to rethink consent and power, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs this perspective. Thanks for watching Reclaimed Bible Women. See you in the next one.